You're not addicted to shopping. You're addicted to the feeling of escaping the wait. There's a specific moment that happens in your brain, a tiny chemical firework, right when your thumb hovers over that glowing button. Buy now. Add to cart. One-click purchase. The button doesn't just sit there. It pulses. It beckons. And every single psychological lever that took a century to perfect is pulling you toward it like gravity. You think you're making a choice. You're not. You're responding to a script written long before you open that app, a script that understands you better than you understand yourself. This is the story of how we lost the ability to wait, and how that loss turned us into the perfect consumers. Let me take you back to a moment you probably remember. You're sitting on your couch, late evening, phone in hand. You weren't planning to buy anything. Maybe you were just scrolling, just looking, just browsing. Then you see it, a gadget, a jacket, a thing you never knew existed 5 minutes ago, and suddenly, you need it. Not want, need. Your heart rate ticks up slightly, your pupils dilate. You can already imagine it arriving at your door, the satisfying weight of the box, the rustle of the packaging. The fantasy is so vivid it's practically a memory. And then your thumb moves, almost by itself. The purchase is complete before your rational mind even shows up to the conversation. 12 hours later, you wake up to a shipping notification. 24 hours after that, it's on your doorstep. And 48 hours after that, it's forgotten, buried under the couch or shoved in a drawer, already replaced in your mind by the next thing you didn't know you needed. This isn't weakness. This isn't a personal failing. This is engineering. We are living in the age of the patience deficit. Patience, that ancient virtue that built cathedrals and crossed oceans, has been systematically stripped from us. And in its place, a new system has been installed. A system that feeds on impulse, thrives on instant gratification, and requires you to never, ever stop moving. The question isn't why you keep buying things you don't need. The question is, who designed it this way, and what do they gain when you lose control? Let's go back, way back. To understand the trap, you need to understand the blueprint. 1936. America is crawling out of the worst economic collapse in modern history. The Great Depression had taught an entire generation a brutal lesson about money. Save everything. Waste nothing. Wait. Delay gratification. Every purchase was a calculation. Every dollar spent was a dollar that might be needed tomorrow for bread, for rent, for survival. The national psyche was shaped by scarcity. People bought what they needed and made it last. A coat could last 10 years. A radio was a family investment. The idea of buying something just because you wanted it, just because it made you feel good for a fleeting moment, was absurd, irresponsible, almost immoral. But the factories didn't stop. After the war, after 1945, American industry had a problem. The assembly lines that had churned out tanks and bombers in uniforms were now silent. The machinery was ready. The workers were ready. The system was built for mass production. But the people, the consumers, they still had that Depression-era mindset. They were cautious. They were patient. They waited. And waiting is the enemy of profit. Enter Edward Bernays, nephew of Sigmund Freud, the man who took his uncle's theories about the unconscious mind and turned them into a weapon for corporations. Bernays understood something revolutionary. You couldn't sell to people's needs. Needs are finite. A person needs one coat, one refrigerator, one car. But desires? Desires are infinite. And desires live in the unconscious, in that dark, churning part of the mind that doesn't care about logic or budgets or consequences. Bernays called it engineering consent. Others called it propaganda. But by the 1950s, it had a friendlier name: advertising. The goal was simple: rewire the American brain. Replace the ethic of thrift with the ethic of consumption. Make people feel that waiting was not a virtue, but a punishment. That delaying gratification was not wise, but sad. That the person who saved their money was not prudent, but pitiable, missing out on life, on joy, on the shiny, vibrant, present moment that was always just one purchase away. It worked. By 1960, the transformation was complete. Credit cards arrived, little plastic rectangles that severed the psychological link between spending and pain. You didn't hand over cash anymore. You didn't feel the loss. You just signed a slip, and the thing was yours. The bill would come later, some abstract future problem. But the gratification? That was now, immediate. Dopamine, delivered on demand. Television beamed endless advertisements into living rooms. Smiling families with new cars. Sparkling kitchens with the latest appliances. The message was everywhere. You are what you own. Your worth is measured by your possessions. And if you're not buying, you're falling behind. You're missing out. You're less than. The old patience, the kind that built savings accounts and paid off homes and waited for the right moment, began to feel like a relic, a burden, an embarrassment. And that was just the beginning. Fast forward to today. The system has evolved. It's no longer just advertisements on a screen. It's in your pocket. It's in your hand. It's watching you, learning you, predicting you. Every click, every scroll, every pause is data. And that data is fed into algorithms designed by the smartest engineers in the world with one singular goal: reduce friction, make buying so easy, so seamless, so thoughtless, that it happens before you even realize you've decided. Let's talk about friction. In the old world, buying something required effort. You had to get in your car, drive to a store, walk the aisles, find the thing, stand in line, hand over money, feel the weight of the transaction. Each step was a moment where your rational brain could intervene, where you could ask yourself, do I really need this? Can I afford this? Will I regret this tomorrow? Friction was the enemy of impulse. And so, piece by piece, the system removed it. One-click purchasing. No need to re-enter your card. No need to confirm. Just click. Done. Saved payment information. Your credit card lives in the app. Always ready. Always waiting. Personalized recommendations. The algorithm knows what you looked at last week. It knows what people like you bought. It serves you the thing you didn't know you wanted at the exact moment you're most vulnerable. Free shipping. No minimum. No threshold. The psychological barrier of shipping costs, that little moment of hesitation, erased. Next day delivery. Sometimes same day. Sometimes within hours. The wait. That crucial cooling-off period where second thoughts could creep in, compressed to nothing. And then, the final trick. The masterpiece. The killing blow to patience. Buy now. Pay later. You don't even need the money today. You can have the thing now, this instant, and worry about paying for it later. 4 easy payments. No interest. No guilt. Just the thing. Right now. The system has become so frictionless that buying is easier than not buying. Resisting takes effort. Resisting takes willpower. And willpower is a finite resource. Every decision you make, every temptation you face, depletes it. By the end of the day, when you're tired, when your defenses are down, that's when the apps strike. Late night scrolling, bored browsing, and suddenly, you're buying noise-canceling headphones you don't need with money you don't have. And here's the thing they don't tell you. The thing that makes this entire system so devastatingly effective. It's not just about selling you stuff. It's about selling you a feeling. Let's talk about dopamine. That little molecule in your brain that's responsible for motivation, for pleasure, for the feeling of reward. Your brain releases dopamine when you eat something delicious, when you have sex, when you accomplish a goal. It's the chemical that says, "That was good, do that again." But here's the trick. Dopamine doesn't just fire when you get the reward. It fires in anticipation of the reward. When you're hunting for the reward, when you're about to get the reward, that's when the hit is strongest. You know that feeling when you're tracking a package, when you refresh the page to see if it's out for delivery? That's dopamine. You know that moment when you're scrolling through products, imagining which one might be perfect? That's dopamine. The actual arrival of the thing, the actual unboxing, that's almost always a letdown, because the dopamine has already peaked, you've already gotten the high, and now you're left with the thing itself, which is just an object, which can never live up to the fantasy. So what do? You hunt for the next hit. You open the app again. You scroll again. You buy again. The system has turned you into a dopamine addict. And the apps are your dealer. But the real genius of the system isn't just the neurochemistry. It's the illusion of choice. You think you're in control. You think you're deciding. The app gives you filters, options, comparisons. It makes you feel like you're researching, like you're making an informed decision, but the entire environment is designed to guide you toward one outcome: purchase. They call them dark patterns, little design tricks that manipulate your behavior without you noticing. The countdown timer. Only 3 left in stock. Only 2 hours left at this price. The scarcity is often fake, but your brain doesn't know that. Your brain just sees the threat of loss, and loss hurts worse than missing out on a gain. So you buy now, before it's gone, before you miss out. The cart that remembers. You put something in your cart 3 days ago and didn't buy it. Now the app sends you a notification. Still thinking about this? It's still available. A gentle nudge. A reminder that the thing is waiting for you. The price that ends in 99. $19.99 feels so much cheaper than $20. Your rational brain knows it's a 1-cent difference. But your unconscious brain just sees the 19. Anchoring. Every single price you see is designed to make the next price seem reasonable. The reviews. 5 stars. Verified purchase. Real people raving about how this thing changed their life, except the system boosts the positive reviews and buries the negative ones. And some of the reviews aren't real at all. But you trust them, because they look real. The upsell. You're about to check out, and suddenly, people who bought this also bought that. One more click, one more item. Your cart total climbs, but you barely notice because each individual item seems small. And the entire time, you think you're making free choices. But here's the thing about freedom. Real freedom requires information. It requires clarity. It requires the ability to step back and see the whole picture. And the system is designed to make sure you never step back. It keeps you moving forward, clicking, scrolling, buying, always in motion, never pausing long enough to ask the one question that would break the spell. Why? Why do I want this thing I didn't know existed 10 minutes ago? Why does it feel urgent? Why can't I wait? And that brings us to the heart of the issue. The patience deficit isn't just about shopping. It's about time. About the relationship between desire and fulfillment. About the space between wanting and having. Patience used to be a survival skill. You planted seeds and waited months for the harvest. You saved money and waited years to buy a home. You courted someone and waited to build trust and love. Waiting was how you proved to yourself and to the world that something mattered, that you were serious, that you had control over your impulses. But the modern world has declared war on waiting. 2-day shipping became 1-day shipping became same-day shipping. Streaming replaced scheduled television. Texting replaced letters. Every gap, every delay, every moment of suspension has been targeted for elimination. And with each gap removed, we lose a little more of our ability to tolerate discomfort, to sit with uncertainty, to let desire exist without immediately satisfying it. The apps know this. They exploit this. They've learned that the moment of maximum vulnerability is the moment of boredom. When you're standing in line, when you're sitting on the train, when you're lying in bed, tired but not ready to sleep. Those in-between moments, those little pockets of emptiness, used to be where your mind wandered, where you daydreamed, where you processed your day. Now, they're monetized. You pull out your phone, you open an app, and within seconds, you're being sold something. The system has turned your boredom into profit. And the cost is not just your money, it's your autonomy, your attention, your sense of self. Because here's the final truth, the one that's hardest to swallow. Every time you buy something on impulse, you're not just buying the thing, you're reinforcing a habit. You're training your brain that discomfort should be immediately soothed, that desire should be instantly gratified, that waiting is intolerable. You're becoming a little less patient, a little less capable of delayed gratification, a little more dependent on the next hit of dopamine. And the system loves that, because a person who can't wait is a person who can't resist. A person who can't resist is a person who keeps buying. And a person who keeps buying is the perfect consumer. So what do? How do you escape a trap this sophisticated? The answer isn't to delete every app or swear off shopping forever. That's not realistic, and it's not the point. The point is to reintroduce friction, to rebuild the space between impulse and action, to reclaim patience not as some old-fashioned virtue but as a radical act of self-defense. There's a rule. It's simple, it's ancient, and it works. The 72-hour rule. When you want to buy something that isn't essential, that isn't urgent, that's just a want, you wait 72 hours, 3 days. You don't put it in your cart. You don't save it for later. You just write it down, on paper, in a note, somewhere outside the app, and you wait. 3 days later, you revisit the desire, and here's what you'll find. Most of the time, the desire is gone. It wasn't real. It was manufactured. It was a dopamine spike triggered by an algorithm, by a dark pattern, by a countdown timer. The thing itself was never the point. The feeling was the point, and feelings fade. Sometimes the desire remains, and that's okay, because now, after 3 days, it's not an impulse, it's a choice. You've given your rational brain time to show up. You've asked yourself the hard questions. Do I need this? Can I afford this? Does this align with my values, my goals, my life? And if the answer is yes, then buy it. Not because the app told you to, but because you decided. That space, those 72 hours, that's where patience lives, and patience is power. But let's go deeper, because the 72-hour rule is just the beginning. The real escape requires something more fundamental, a shift in how you see yourself and your relationship to stuff. The system wants you to believe that you are what you own, that your identity is expressed through your purchases, that the right gadget, the right clothes, the right stuff will make you more interesting, more successful, more you. But that's a lie. A profitable lie, but a lie nonetheless. You are not your stuff. Your stuff is just stuff. It breaks. It fades. It gets replaced. And none of it, not one single thing you buy, will ever fill the hole that the system has convinced you exists. The real work is internal. It's learning to sit with discomfort, to tolerate boredom, to let desire exist without needing to satisfy it immediately. It's rediscovering that the best things in life, the things that actually matter, love, friendship, purpose, creativity, none of them can be bought. None of them arrive in 2 days. None of them come with free shipping. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing to buy things to feel okay, you start to actually enjoy the things you do buy, because they're chosen, intentional, meaningful, not just another hit of dopamine, but an actual addition to your life. The patience deficit is real. It's been engineered. It's been monetized. And it's costing you more than money. It's costing you your attention, your autonomy, your peace. But you can take it back. One choice at a time. One pause at a time. One moment of waiting at a time. The system is counting on you to keep clicking, to keep buying, to keep feeding the machine. What if you just stopped? What if you waited? What if patience wasn't a weakness, but a rebellion? The button will always be there, glowing, pulsing, waiting, but so will you.